So I'm gonna bring you back for a minute, okay? I want to start with the Lions. You cool with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So months ago, well, really, this was. I'm just gonna call it like March or April. Maybe it was early May. I don't remember. Um, I said the Lions should be talked about in the NFC Championship game this upcoming season. And you kind of laughed at me. And you said, and I believe, in quote, you've got to crawl before you walk. I want to know now, end of July. And for those of you that don't know, I am not a Lions homer by any means. I'm actually a Cowboys fan. So I know. Insert joke there. But I'm pretty high on the Lions, and I have been for months. And I had made a comment a few months ago at the end of season 2, and I said, why are we not talking about the Lions as if they're playing for a Super Bowl? Why are we not talking about the Lions as if they are competing for an NFC championship? Their over under win total right now is set at 10.5. And Brant, I want to know where you stand right now. Was that totally outlandish? Where are you high on this team? Are you kind of just like, well, because I feel like there are different categories of fans. There's the we're going to win it all, like the crazy Lion fan, right? That shows up to Ford Field every Sunday. There's the SOL fan that's like, I've been following this team for 50 years and they always let you down, and so blah, 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 blah. And then you got the tweeners that are like, well, they're actually, it seems like Dan Campbell and this staff is changing the culture, but like, I don't really know how to feel about them. Jared Goff's our quarterback. I mean, the division seems weak, but I'm not really sure. I don't think the Lions are there yet. Brant, where do you fall as it stands today?
Over 10.5. They're going to win the division. They're going to go to the playoffs. They're hopefully going to get a home playoff game. I mean, well, you will if you win the division, but this team's going to the playoffs, Dave. That's where I'm at right now with this team, and I'm thinking they're going to win the division.
Okay, so you're calling the Lions going to win the NFC North.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. They're going to win the division. Don't even bat an eye at. I'm just looking at the odds right now. I don't know if you've looked at these recently, but the Lions right now are plus 155 to win the NFC North. They are the favorites for the first time in over 30 years. The Vikings are right behind them at plus 260, Packers plus 340, Bears at plus 400. I mean, it's not like a run home race for anybody, but you're all aboard this train. You're not high on any of those other three teams.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't say NFC Championship. I just said
I know what you did.
They'll make the playoffs. They'll be there in the playoffs, and I'm really hoping they get the home playoff game, and I really think they will.
Okay. What do you think they do with that home playoff game? Let me push you a little bit further here, because you're not willing to say play for the NFC Championship. So what hangs you up there? You think they're gonna win the division? They're going to host a home game at Ford Field, which, by the way, will be insane. But you're not willing to put them in that category of they're going to make the NFC Championship. What's stopping you from doing that? Because Brant, and I'm going to let you talk, NFC Championship winner, okay, meaning they win and are going to the Super Bowl, the current odds are, in order, go the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Seahawks, the Vikings.
Right, and so nobody believes in those, the three you named, the Cowboys, the Lions, and the Seahawks. That's a total crapshoot, right? Nobody believes, like, firmly one of those three is going to go to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl. But I can tell you that I feel very comfortable saying that the Lions are not going to be the 1 seed. So for them to have to win 2 playoff games to get to the NFC Championship seems like outlandish to me. Like, that one just doesn't jive with me. You know what I mean? So I don't see them winning 2 playoff games. They could win the one, Dave. They could win on wild card weekend, whatever, and get to the divisional round. I don't see them going on the road to win a playoff game, maybe in Philly, at San Francisco. I don't think they're there yet.
Why?
I I have to believe that the depth of this team is not where it needs to be. It's gotten better, certainly. The running back room has gotten a little more depth. The defense still lacks some of that depth, I think, Dave. Their secondary has gotten a little deeper, but it's not deep enough to where it needs to be. And I believe that, man, can you imagine Hutch or Justin Houston going down?
Houston.
James Houston, sorry. Yeah, I couldn't imagine one of those two going down. Like right now, you're kind of banking on them being your bookends, right? And losing one of them would be an absolute nightmare. And I don't know if you're able to overcome that because you're going to have to. I mean, the name of the game right now, Dave, is like pressure the quarterback in the NFL, right? So I think if you lose one of those two guys, you're really in dire straits. And not to mention, I know Teddy B was in town. I know he was in town, but, I mean, we're dealing with Jared Goff here and an injury to Goff. I mean, I know I keep going back to the injury bug situation, Dave, but it just speaks to the depth of this roster and where it might be. I mean, do you see the Lions being led by a dude like Brock Purdy to the NFC Championship game like the 49ers were able to do? I mean, that's a deep team, Dave. I mean, they have depth everywhere.
I think that a team like the 49ers were built to win with whoever was at the helm. That's not a shot at Brock Purdy or anybody. That
Right.
comes down to coaching. It's not necessarily that the 49ers are some super deep team. I think that, truthfully, they're coached well. Kyle Shanahan has that thing humming. And I guess I'm just not out on the Lions to say they don't have that. Because the injury bug, I can go through the roster here. The Eagles lose Jalen Hurts. Well, what happens? The 49ers lose Bosa. Well, what happens? The Cowboys lose Micah Parsons or Dak Prescott. What happens? I understand what you're saying about the depth piece. I'm not underscoring that. But I just think at face value for what it is right now, and there will be injuries. Oh, absolutely there will be. You already saw it right now. I mean, training camp, we're literally like getting started. And it's like CJ Gardner-Johnson carted off with a non-football contact injury. Like, that stuff scares you, right? That was a huge signing. That he's a huge integral piece of them moving forward. And then you're going through, well, they got Branch from the draft, and like you start going through that depth chart, but every team does that. So at the end of the day, I go back to who's at the top of this list. And Vegas is not the end all be all, but Vegas has a pretty good pulse on things over the years. Eagles, I can get down with that, right? You're talking about they went to the Super Bowl last year. 49ers, yep, put them there. Cowboys, you know I'm a Cowboys fan. Yeah, we can laugh at that. I can't take that serious either till I see it happen. Lions, right there. Seahawks, are we really buying into the Geno Smith thing that happened last year? The Vikings running it back with Kirk Cousins and no Dalvin Cook and looking like Madison's your running back. Like, this NFC is weak. It is for the taking this year. And Jared Goff made some serious strides last year. I just think that they've added talent. They've added depth. That secondary, that defense in particular is totally revamped. I think you're going to need to see these guys step up and be ready. Like Jack Campbell, you need to beat out Alex Anzalone for that linebacker job. Like, I know they'll both play, but my point is, you're going to have some of these guys rise to the top. Absolutely. But from a talent perspective alone, dude, the Lions are favored to have the best offense in the NFC this year. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean,
saw an article.
They kind of were last year. I mean, they were like a top 10 offense last year, so it does not surprise me, David. It doesn't shock me at all that's a top 10 offense.
And I'm going to just add a little more fuel to the fire here. I brought up in prep for this podcast, episode 1, AP NFL Coach of the Year, 2023-2024. Brant, who do you think sits at the top of that list?
I hope it's not Dan Campbell because that's outrageous.
Oh, it's Dan Campbell.
That's outrageous.
Okay. Well, who are you putting above him then? To say that it's outrageous, who are you putting above him?
I mean, look at a guy like last year. I mean, you had a dude like Sirianni come out of nowhere. That's like got a young offensive mind like he is. Like I just don't see where you're gonna just he's gonna win 13, 14 games. Like I just don't see where that's gonna be coming from. I mean, the Eagles win 13 to 14 games last year, Dave. I don't see. Do you see the Lions winning 13, 14 games? It's going to take that for Dan Campbell to win it.
I don't know if it is.
You think he's going to win? I mean, he's not going to improve them from 9 wins to 10 wins and win the award.
Oh, okay, but if he goes from 9 to 12, they host a playoff game. I mean,
is this team winning 12 games?
They could.
Yeah, they could. For sure they could. I think that's a longer shot. I think that's why their win total is at 10.5 and not 12.5.
What is it that so it's depth. That's it. That is why you're not high on them. Nothing else.
Their defensive line doesn't worry you at all? You think that's a strength of this team?
I don't know. I agree.
Okay.
I think that's I think that is they're young. They're going to use a lot of guys, right? They're going to rotate a lot of guys in. I also think that they won a lot of close games last year that went their way when they won 7 or 8 in a row or whatever it was. And I also watched them give up 500 rushing yards to the Carolina Panthers. So I'm not completely sold on this team yet, Dave. Like, you can come out here and say they could win 12, 13 games. I don't think I'm in that boat with you yet. And I don't think that Dan Campbell is going to lead these guys to 13 wins. And I think that's what it's going to take to win Coach of the Year. I think a dude like Doug Marrone has a much better chance with the Jaguars to hop into like a top 3 seed in the AFC and win the Coach of the Year. To me, I don't know. That's where I stand with it. I think a dude like that pops out immediately. I think a guy like Trevor Lawrence is a sleeper MVP candidate. I would agree with that.
I mean, I don't want to get off topic here, off the Lions topic, but I mean that you asked why couldn't he, or maybe someone else that could do that. I could see a guy like Doug Marrone stepping right into that role of Coach of the Year.
I think that's fair, but your point of why Dan Campbell couldn't be Coach of the Year is because they won 9 games last year and they need to win 13 this year.
Yeah,
But the Jags made the playoffs last year. So what's the bar there?
Because I think that they're going to win like 13 or 14 games this year. I could definitely see them
13 or 14 games.
Oh yeah, you don't think that
13 or 4, 14 and 3 Jacksonville Jaguars.
You don't think they're going to sweep that division?
That's a hot take.
You just said you can see Trevor Lawrence being the MVP.
I could. I could. But Brant, they made the playoffs last year, and Trevor Lawrence also, by the way, in that playoff game threw about 1 million interceptions and came back and whatever.
And won the game.
And they did.
The game.
They did.
And they were in that game in Arrowhead. Like, people forget about that too. They lost to the Chiefs by like 10 points or 7 points. That game was pretty close. Yeah, okay. We won't go off on this. Plenty of season left to do this.
This is good. I already like this, man. I'm already angry at you in Season 3, Episode 1. Last question on the Lions, and then we are going to transition here into college football. Lions travel to Kansas City. Week 1. We got a lot of time to do this. How do you think they should... I don't even have the spread in front of me. I don't know what it looks like. What is the... I'm not even going to say how do you think they do that game. That's a lame take. How much does that game mean to this season? Whether they win, lose, close, whatever, how much does that particular game mean, that Thursday night opening game, opening kickoff to the NFL season in front of the entire country who's been craving football for months? How much does that mean to the Lions this season?
Dave, it should mean a whole lot. It should. It should mean a whole lot to those guys in that locker room. It should mean a whole lot to Dan Campbell. Dave, you're going to hate this take, though, I feel like. You're going to hate this one. It's 1 of 17 at the end of the day. Like, even if you lose to Kansas City, I hope it's respectable. I'm praying it's respectable. I'm hoping they're right there with. I'm hoping they beat them. Like, I think they could do that. But you have to keep in mind that this is one of 17 at the end of the day, and it's just the opening night. So you have plenty of season left to go on this thing, obviously. But I'm really hoping that they show out. And I think it's important that they show out, Dave, on national television. I'm hoping they don't go out there and just lay an egg. I'm really hoping for that. So I'm hoping everybody keeps it in perspective, though. This is one of 17, and you're playing the Super Bowl champs. So have perspective, people. That's all I'm saying.
Perspective is important, I think it's incredibly important. I do. I think that you got to have a respectable performance. Otherwise, this is what happens, Brent. And not that the media and the fan narrative drives what these guys do in and out in practices and in the locker room. But right now, the trajectory of the Lions is like, it's ascending, right? I mean, people they're hype about this team. You look at the odds. I mean, this is stuff that we haven't even seen in our lifetime, really. And all it's going to take is to come out on Thursday Night Football and lose 31-10 to the Chiefs and get dusted off the field. And now everybody's like, well, there we go. Somebody got injured. You lose by 3 touchdowns, and the season's over. Though the guys on that team don't see it that way, but sure, the hype and the energy around this team and in the city right now would certainly decline. So it's important. If they don't win the game, I don't think it's life or death. It's one of 17, like you just said, but they got to show up that day, and they got to be prepared, and they cannot come out and be sitting on their hands against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. But all right, enough on the Lions here. Let's shift into some college football.